Welcome back, everyone. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than the other ones. It's going to be a really short clip of diving, and it's going to be followed up with a tutorial of Gyotaku and how to make your own at home. So this snapper, it was starting to swim away from me, but fortunately the shark actually was swimming towards me, and it kind of made a turn to the right, which made it possible for me to get that shot on it. If not, it probably would have swam away pretty quickly. The flashers have been working really well in these small reefs. They help just attract, the attention of some of these snappers that hide in the rocks usually. This one was completely my fault. I didn't have the roller aspect fully loaded with tension, so it was the strength of the pulser was half of what it could have been. This shark body that we ended up finding, it was just the main, like, middle section. I'm not sure if it was a person or if it was a shark that did this. It was still interesting to see on the way out to the reef, but it was just sitting there. There weren't even fish really eating at it, so it kind of looked a little fresh as well, maybe from the night before. So I was really glad that we ended up seeing this lionfish. Little did my dad know that with Father's Day coming up, I was really looking for him to shoot a fish so I could make Gyotaku for him. Although the Gyotaku in the video isn't the exact one I made for my father, it's still the same technique. And actually, him having shot the lionfish meant that I had to improve my Gyotaku skill to be able to do that because lionfish are incredibly difficult to do. But my father is 82 years old, and he's taught me everything about freediving since I was 10 years old. Um, and I'm glad I still get to go with him in the water every once in a while, and that he still gets to be excited seeing all these, marine animals. And he and I used to hunt lionfish in Dominican Republic, and get about 20, 30 pounds of them and clean up the reef. So now I'm just going to show a little clip of one of the parts of the lionfish I ended up doing. This was the wing, and you can experiment with, a lot of your own styles just like that. So this whole frame right here is what I ended up making for my father. The two on the right came out exactly how I wanted them to. Now the lionfish itself was a bit more difficult to do, especially the head. Pretty much you can do as much as you can with the Gyotaku and take a photo of the fish, and you can add extra bits of detail that you might have not been able to get from the printing. So when you're cutting your rice paper, don't cut it to the size of the fish, cut it a bit larger. You can actually angle the fish, and you can always cut down, but you can never add more paper. So this is Sumi. Sumi is a charcoal based ink. There's blocks of Sumi, which is just solid, and you dilute it with water. But you have, your brushes, and you take this already, diluted Sumi, which is ready to go, and just squirt a little bit into whatever cup you have. So now, the reason I'm wetting the rice paper is it actually makes it more malleable, so it won't wrinkle when I am pressing it along the fish head. And this also, you know, you let it dry out and it can help make it more flat for when you're working with it. So you take whatever fish you're going to use, the body, the head, the tail, anything, and you want to dry it thoroughly. I did one quick dry of the surface, but then I take a towel and I go into the crevices. The crevices are where you can have the excess moisture that can actually not ruin but lessen the quality of your Gyotaku. So with a brush, you want to go with the scales if there are scales. You want to keep in mind the strokes you're doing on the head. And this first one I always do, I like to just do a rough one, just to get an idea of the Sumi and that part of the fish. This is my first time doing a hogfish head, so I really wanted to see how it worked out. And you can see it's a bit, you know, you can't see any scales or any features, and it looks more like a bird. But this is still a step in the right direction. And what I'm doing here is I'm blotting the excess Sumi so that it doesn't bleed through completely. See, you can see this one I didn't blot enough, so then it becomes a bit darker, but it still has those significant creases in the skin that impart. Now this is something using food safe acrylic. You can go ahead and do this, and by blotting it I'm also spreading around the color to blend it. This is all working towards what I was hoping for, and I just wanted to show you the steps so you're not deterred. You know, you can see already it's a step up. You can see certain different colors and designs, and I'll match the color on the fish head as on, you know, as the color of the fish. Now this is one technique where you can do the color and do something abstract like this, or go, you know, directly how the fish looks. But another thing you can do is just do the classic black ink Sumi and then color it in. And what that does is just means that you can detail any portion of the fish that isn't already properly detailed. Now this one was one of my favorite ones. You can see how it's nicely blended with certain patches of dark being blended into the color. There you go. And really, just like spearfishing, this is trial and error. You figure out what works for you and what doesn't. You can see right here I'm trying with a little bit more blue in certain areas. Each step is in the right direction, and every time you can readjust what you're doing. You can have your papers lined up if you know you're going to be doing just one like this, and just continue to go with different colors and designs and little by little work on it. You can skip actually coloring the eye and keep that empty so that you can actually detail that afterwards and get a more accurate eye, you know, design. You can see how the mouth can be blended and all these other aspects, and these are just some of the ones that I did. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment and I'll try my best to answer them. And once again, thank you for watching.